Welcome back to Artificial Fluency, your weekly dose of authentic English that native speakers actually use. Ready to take your English to the next level? You're in the right place. Let's dive in. He had to work with a new team of cooks who didn't speak English very well. Mark knew that if they didn't work together well, the food wouldn't be ready on time. So, he decided to make a plan. He started by writing simple instructions on a big board in the kitchen. He used short sentences like chop the onions and grill the chicken. He also drew pictures to make it even easier for everyone to understand. As the night went on, Mark noticed that his team was working better. The cooks understood the instructions and were able to prepare the meal on time. The customers were happy, and the event was a big success. Mark was proud of his team, but he also realized that using simple language made a huge difference. When he explained things clearly, everyone worked together more effectively. Mark's story teaches us that communication is key, especially in a team. Even if your English isn't perfect, it's important to make sure your message is clear. If you're learning English, you don't need to speak in complicated sentences. Simple sentences, short words, and even pictures can help you communicate better. Let me tell you another quick story. This one is about a woman named Helen. Helen runs a small shop where she sells flowers. One day, a man came into her shop and asked, "Can you recommend a flower for my wife's birthday?" Helen smiled and said, "Of course. Let me show you. Some beautiful roses. They're perfect for birthdays." The man liked the roses, and he bought a big bouquet for his wife. Later, he came back and said, "My wife loved the flowers. Thank you for helping me pick the right ones." Helen's story reminds us that simple conversations can lead to great results. She didn't use any complicated words or long sentences. She just asked what the customer needed, made a suggestion, and explained why it was a good choice. This is a simple but effective way to use English in real-life situations. Now think about how you can apply these lessons in your own life. How can you use simple, clear English to make your conversations better? Whether you're at work, at home, or talking to strangers, remember that being clear and helpful can make a big difference. Try to practice every day by speaking to someone in English, writing in English, or listening to English stories. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Would you like to hear more? Let's continue exploring more real-life stories and lessons. Let's continue with more real-life stories to help you improve your English listening and writing skills. These stories are simple, clear, and useful, just like the English you need for daily life. When you listen to how people talk in real situations, you learn how to use English naturally. So, let's begin with the next story. This story is about a man named William. William works as a postman. Every day, he wakes up early in the morning to deliver letters and packages. His job is not easy. He walks many miles every day in the hot sun, rain, or cold wind. But William likes his job because he gets to meet many people and see different places in the neighborhood. One day, William received a package that had no apartment number written on it. It only had the name Mr. David and the street address. William thought, "There are many Davids living on this street. How can I find the right one?" He didn't want to return the package because he knew it might be important. So, he started asking people. After a while, a woman opened her door and said, "Yes, my neighbor's name is David. He is not home now, but I can give him the package when he returns." William thanked her and handed her the box. Later that week, the real Mr. David met William on the street and said, "Thank you for going the extra mile to deliver my package. I really needed it." William smiled and replied, "It's my job, but I also believe that helping people is always the right thing to do." This story shows the power of asking questions and speaking politely. William used simple English to ask for help. He was clear and respectful. This is a good example for learners. If you don't understand something or if you need help, don't be afraid to ask. Just be polite and use simple sentences. For example, you can say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" Or, "Do you know where this place is?" Let's go to the next story. This one is about a woman named Emma. Emma runs a small bakery in her town. She makes bread, cakes, and cookies. Her bakery is very popular because she always greets her customers with a big smile and speaks kindly to them. People love going to her bakery not only for the food but also because Emma makes them feel welcome. One day, a man named Peter came into the bakery. He looked nervous. Emma smiled and asked, "Good morning. How can I help you today?" Peter said, "I want to buy a birthday cake for my wife, but I don't know what kind she likes." Emma said, "Don't worry, I can help you choose. What kind of flavors does she enjoy?" Peter thought for a moment and said, "She likes chocolate and strawberries." Emma nodded and said, "Perfect. I'll make a chocolate cake with fresh strawberries on top. You can pick it up tomorrow." Peter was happy and said, "Thanks you so much. You made it easy for me." The next day, Peter picked up the cake and gave it to his wife. She was very happy and loved the taste. A few days later, Peter returned to Emma's bakery and said, "My wife said it was the best cake she ever had." "Thank you," Emma replied. "I'm happy to help. Come anytime." This story teaches us how using friendly and helpful English can make people feel comfortable. Emma asked simple questions and offered suggestions. When you speak in a friendly way, people trust you more. You don't have to use big words. Just be kind and clear. If someone is unsure, say something like, "Don't worry, I can help," or "Let's look at some options together." Let's hear another story. This one is about two friends named John and Robert. They work together in a construction company. Their job is to build houses. They use tools like hammers, drills, and saws. One day, their boss gave them a big task: build a small wooden shed in the backyard of a house. At first, they thought it would be easy. But after 1 hour, they saw that the wood pieces didn't fit well. John said, "Something is wrong. The door doesn't close properly." Robert looked at the door and said, "We made a mistake with the measurements." They both felt a little upset, but instead of blaming each other, John said, "Let's fix it together. We can cut the wood again and measure more carefully this time." They worked slowly and checked every measurement twice. After some hours, they finally finished the shed. This time, everything fit perfectly. Their boss came to check the work and said, "Well done. I'm proud of how you worked together and solved the problem." This story shows how good teamwork and communication can solve problems. When something goes wrong, it's easy to get angry. But if you stay calm and use simple, respectful words, you can find a solution. John didn't say, "You made a mistake." He said, "Let's fix it together." That's a good example of using polite language. If you work with others, remember these simple phrases. "Let's do it together." "Can you check this with me?" "I think we can fix it." Now, let's listen to a story about family life. This one is about a man named Paul and his wife, Rachel. They live in a small house with their 3 children. Paul works in an office and Rachel stays home to take care of the kids. Every morning, Paul wakes up early, eats breakfast with his family, and goes to work. Rachel helps the kids get ready for school, makes lunch, and cleans the house. One day, Rachel wasn't feeling well. She had a cold and a headache. Paul noticed and said, "You look tired. I'll stay home today and take care of things." Rachel said, "Are you sure? You have work?" Paul replied, "Yes, but family is more important." That day, Paul helped the children with their homework, cooked dinner, and even did the laundry. At the end of the day, Rachel smiled and said, "Thank you. You were a big help." Paul laughed and said, "Now I know how much work you do every day." This story shows how sharing responsibilities and helping each other builds strong relationships. It also gives us many simple English phrases you can use at home. Let me help you. You should rest. I'll take care of it. When you practice English with your family, use simple sentences. Talk about your day, your meals, your plans. Even small conversations help you improve. You can say things like, "Did you have a good day?" Or, "Can you help me with this?" Here's one more story. This one is about a young man named Adam who wanted to open his own fruit shop. He saved money for 2 years. Every month, he put a small amount into his savings. Finally, after a long time, he had enough. He rented a small place in the market and bought fruits from local farmers. On the first day, he was nervous. He thought, "What if no one comes to my shop?" But he smiled and welcomed every customer who walked by. He said, "Good morning. Would you like to try some fresh apples?" Some people said yes, and some people said no, but Adam stayed friendly and polite all day. At the end of the week, he had many regular customers. One of them, Mrs. Thompson, said, "You are always kind and helpful. That's why I come to your shop." Adam smiled and said, "Thank you. That means a lot to me." Adam's story teaches us that polite words and a positive attitude help us succeed. Even if your English is simple, you can still connect with people. Use phrases like, "Would you like to try this?" "Thank you for coming." "Have a nice day." When you speak kindly and clearly, people listen. Let me know when you want me to continue. I have more stories and examples that will help improve your English listening and writing. Great. Let's continue with more real-life stories and simple conversations to help you improve your English listening and writing skills. These stories are full of useful English you can use in daily life. When you hear how people speak in real situations, you learn the natural way to communicate, clearly, politely, and with confidence. And remember, we upload new episodes every day here at the English Pod community, so make sure to press the like button and come back often. Today's story is about a woman named Linda and her husband, Mark. They have been married for 10 years and live in a small town with their 2 children. Linda works as a school teacher, and Mark is a plumber. One weekend, something unexpected happened. Their kitchen sink started leaking. Water was dripping all over the floor. Linda said, "Mark, the sink is leaking again. Can you check it?" Mark walked over and looked at the pipes under the sink. He said, "Yes, I see the problem. The pipe is loose. I'll fix it, but I need to buy a new part from the hardware store." Linda replied, "Do you need any help?" Mark smiled and said, "Yes, please. Can you help me clean up the water while I go get the part?" Linda got a mop and towels. She cleaned the floor while Mark went to the store. When he came back, he quickly replaced the broken pipe. After everything was fixed, he said, "Let's test it now." He turned on the water and waited. No leaks. Linda said, "Great job. Thank you for fixing it." Mark replied, "Of course, we're a team." This short story teaches us how couples or family members can work together and use simple English at home. When something breaks, when you need help, or when you're solving a problem, you can use everyday phrases like, "Can you check this?" "Do you need help?" "I'll go to the store." "Let's fix it." Speaking in short, polite sentences helps build trust and teamwork. Now, let's go to another story. This one is about a man named Daniel who recently started working in a clothing store. Daniel had never worked in sales before, so he was nervous at first. On his first day, his manager, Sarah, showed him around. She said, "Daniel, we sell shirts, pants, jackets, and shoes here. Your job is to help the customers find what they need." Daniel said, "Okay, I will try my best." What should I say to the customers? Sarah smiled and said, be polite and helpful. If someone looks confused, you can say, can I help you find something? Or you can say, let me know if you need a different size. A few minutes later, a customer walked in. Daniel took a deep breath and said, hello, welcome. Can I help you find anything today? The customer said, yes, I need a new jacket for work. Daniel showed him some jackets and asked, what size do you wear? The customer replied, large. Daniel picked a large jacket and said, you can try this one on. There's a mirror over here. Daniel picked a large jacket and said, you can try this one on. There's a mirror over here. The man tried it on, smiled, and said, this fits well. Thank you for your help. Daniel was happy and told Sarah, I did it. The man bought the jacket. Sarah said, great job, Daniel. You used polite and clear English. That's the key to good customer service. From this story, you can learn how to speak with people at work, especially when helping customers. Phrases like, welcome, can I help you? What size do you wear? You can try this on. Let me know if you need anything. These are useful expressions for customer service or any job where you talk to others. Let's move to the next story. This time it's about a young woman named Sophie who recently got her first job in an office. She works at a small company that sells home furniture. Sophie's job is to answer phone calls, check emails, and talk to clients who come to the office. On her second week, her manager, Mr. Taylor, gave her an important task. He said, Sophie, a client is coming tomorrow to discuss a big order. I want you to welcome him and bring him to the meeting room. Sophie said, okay, I will prepare everything. The next morning, Sophie arrived early. She cleaned the meeting room, prepared some water for the client, and made sure all the chairs were in place. At 10 o'clock, the client arrived. Sophie stood up and said, good morning, sir. Welcome to our company. My name is Sophie. Please come this way. The client smiled and said, thank you. You are very professional. She walked him to the meeting room and said, please have a seat. Mr. Taylor will be with you shortly. Later, Mr. Taylor told Sophie, you did an excellent job. You made a good first impression. This story is a great example of professional English in an office setting. If you work in an office or want to practice business English, here are some good phrases. Welcome to our company. Please come this way. Would you like something to drink? Mr. Taylor will be with you shortly. These simple and polite phrases are used in offices all over the world. Let's now hear a story about a taxi driver named George. George has been driving a taxi for over 15 years. Every day, he picks up many people from different places. One morning, he received a call from a man named Henry who needed to go to the train station quickly. When George arrived, Henry looked worried. He said, I'm late. My train leaves in 20 minutes. George replied, don't worry. I'll do my best to get you there on time. On the way, Henry asked, how long have you been a taxi driver? George answered, for 15 years. I like meeting new people every day. Everyone has a story. Henry smiled and said, that's interesting. I work as a teacher, and I'm going to another city today to give a training session. George replied, that sounds like important work. Thank you for helping students learn. When they reached the station, Henry checked the time and said, I made it. Thank you so much. George said, you're welcome. Have a safe journey. This story helps us learn polite conversations in public places, such as taxis or buses. You can use these sentences, I'm running late. How long will it take? I'll do my best. Thank you for your help. Now let's go to another story. This one is about a woman named Helen who runs a small grocery store. Helen is always busy. She opens her store early and closes late. One day, a new customer named James walked in. He had just moved to the neighborhood and was looking for fresh fruits and vegetables. Helen said, "Good afternoon. Welcome to my store. How can I help you?" James replied, "I just moved here and I'm looking for some apples and potatoes." Helen said, "We have fresh apples from a local farm, and these potatoes are perfect for cooking." James picked a few items and asked, "Do you have any bags?" Helen smiled and said, "Yes, here you go, and if you ever need help finding something, just ask." James paid and said, "Thank you, I'll come back again." Helen replied, "You're always welcome here." This story is a simple example of everyday shopping conversations. You can use these phrases at stores or markets. Do you have fresh fruits? I'm looking for. Can I have a bag, please? Thank you, I'll come back again. These are polite and helpful ways to talk to shop owners or workers. Let me know when you're ready for more. I have many more stories and everyday English situations to share with you. Keep listening and keep practicing. Thank you. Let's keep going with more real-life stories to help you practice and improve your English listening and writing skills. Remember, listening to these stories again and again can help you remember new vocabulary, natural sentence patterns, and useful everyday expressions. If you're new to the English Pod community, we upload English practice episodes every day. So be sure to press the like button and come back often. Now let's go into another story. This one is about a man named Robert and his wife Emily. They live in a quiet neighborhood, and they have a small backyard garden where they grow vegetables. Every weekend they work together in the garden. They grow tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, and green beans. One Saturday morning, Robert noticed that some of the tomato plants were turning yellow. He said, "Emily, look at the tomato plants. The leaves don't look healthy. Do you think they need more water?" Emily walked over, looked at the plants, and said, "Maybe, but it could also be a problem with the soil. Let's check the gardening book we bought last month." Robert went inside and brought the book. After reading for a few minutes, he said, "It says yellow leaves can mean too much water, not too little. I think we're watering them too often." Emily nodded and said, "All right, let's stop watering every day. We can try every 2 or 3 days instead." So they changed their routine. Over the next week, the plants started looking better. The leaves became green again and small tomatoes began to grow. Robert smiled and said, "Teamwork always works." Emily laughed and said, "Yes, and I think the garden is teaching us patience." This story shows how people can use English at home when talking about their hobbies or solving small problems. Here are some useful phrases you can learn from this story. Look at this. Does it look right to you? Let's check. The book. Maybe we need to change something. Teamwork always works. Next, let's move to a story about a man named Peter. Peter works in an office as a team leader. He is known for being kind and helpful. One day, a new employee named Kevin joined the team. Kevin had just graduated from university and was nervous about his first job. On his first day, Peter came to his desk and said, "Hi, Kevin. Welcome to the team. If you need help with anything, just let me know." Kevin said, "Thank you. Peter, I'm a little nervous. I've never worked in an office before." Peter replied, "That's okay. Everyone feels nervous at the beginning. I'll show you how we do things here. We'll go step by step." Over the next few days, Peter helped Kevin learn how to write emails to clients, prepare reports, and organize team meetings. One morning, Kevin had to send an important email to a customer, but he wasn't sure what to write. He turned to Peter and asked, "Can you check my email before I send it?" Peter read it and said, "It's a good start. Let's make it a little more clear. Try writing, 'Thank you for your message. I will check with my team and get back to you soon. Kevin." Changed the email, sent it, and said, Thanks, Peter. That sounds more professional. Peter smiled and said, You're learning fast. Keep practicing, and it will get easier. This story is a great example of how to communicate politely and professionally in the workplace. You can learn these phrases. Welcome to the Bay team. Let me show you how we do things. Can you check this before I send it? That sounds more professional. Next, let's hear about a woman named Susan and her friend Rachel. They are neighbors and often go for walks in the park together in the evening. One day, while walking, Susan told Rachel, My son is feeling sick today. He has a cough and a little fever. Rachel asked, Did you take him to the doctor? Susan replied, Not yet. I gave him warm tea and asked him to rest. If he doesn't feel better tomorrow, I'll take him to the clinic. Rachel said, Yes, that's a good idea. Sometimes rest is the best medicine. But it's always good to check with a doctor if the fever stays. Susan nodded and said, I agree. Thank you for the advice. The next day, Susan took her son to the clinic. The doctor said it was just a mild cold and gave him medicine. After a few days, he felt better. Susan told Rachel, He's feeling much better now. Thank you again for your kind words. Rachel said, I'm happy to hear that. Taking care of our families is so important. This story helps us learn how to talk about health and give or receive advice in English. Some useful expressions are, He has a cough and a little fever. Did you take him to the doctor? Rest is the best medicine. Thank you for your advice. Let's now go to another story, this time about a couple named Thomas and Sarah. They are planning a small trip to visit Thomas's parents who live in the countryside. They haven't seen them in several months. Sarah is making a list of things to pack. She said, Thomas, should we bring jackets? It might be cold there. Thomas replied, Yes, good idea, and let's bring some snacks for the trip. It's a 2-hour drive. Sarah asked, Do your parents need anything from the city? Thomas thought for a moment and said, Yes, my father asked for some batteries and light bulbs. Let's stop at the store before we leave. So they went shopping, packed their bags, and started their journey. On the way, they enjoyed the beautiful view from the car. When they reached the house, Thomas's parents were waiting outside. His mother said, Welcome. We're so happy to see you both. Sarah replied, It's great to be here. We missed you. This story shows how people use English when preparing for travel or visiting family. Here are some useful phrases. Should we bring jackets? Do they need anything? Let's stop at the store. It's great to be here. We missed you. Now let's talk about a man named Adam. Adam works in a delivery service. He rides a motorbike and delivers packages all over the city. One day he received a call from a woman named Claire. She needed an important package delivered to her office before 3 p.m. Claire said, Hello, is this the delivery service? Adam replied, Yes, how can I help you? Claire said, I have a package that needs to reach my office by 3 p.m. today. Is that possible? Adam answered, Yes, if I pick it up in the next 30 minutes, I can deliver it on time. Claire gave him the address, and Adam quickly rode to her house, picked up the package, and delivered it by 2:45 p.m. When he arrived, Claire came out and said, Wow, thank you. I wasn't sure it would arrive so fast. Adam said, You're welcome. I'm happy I could help. This story shows a typical conversation with service workers. Here are some helpful expressions. How can I help you? Is that possible? I'll be there in 30 minutes. Thank you. I wasn't sure it would arrive so fast. Let me know when you want me to continue with more real-life stories and helpful English expressions. We're just Getting started. Thank you. Let's continue with more real-life English practice. These stories will help you understand how people use English in daily situations. By listening carefully and thinking about what the speakers say, you'll improve your listening and writing skills at the same time. This is the English Pod community, and here we upload useful English practice episodes every single day. If you're new here, press the like button and keep listening so you can improve a little bit every day. Now, let's hear a longer story.
That's all for today. Remember to practice what you've learned and join me next episode for more English insights.